Twitch integrated throwing system just got a major upgrade. The app, also lovingly known by the acronym T.I.T.S, connects with your Vtuber model host app and lets you, or your audience, throw all sorts of objects at you. But as of today, the functionality has now been merged with VConnect. It's a new Vtuber app available on Steam, and it's basically throwing system since the item tossing capabilities are still there, but with some new actions as well, like adding stickers on your model, swapping your Vtuber model colors, running text-to-speech, and even shooting fluid, which I know everyone will use in a very normal way. But it's also got a complete node system now, meaning you can craft pretty much anything that you want as actions and triggers. So let's go ahead and check it out. When you first open up the app, you'll be greeted with the overlay editor. This isn't much use to us until we get our Vtuber app connected though. And I'm using VTube Studio, so I'm just gonna double click and make sure that my API is toggled on. Then I'll head over to my settings in VConnect and head to the VTube Studio tab. And here you can hit the connect button and then swap back over to VTube Studio, and you should have a pop-up requesting API access here. After you hit allow, you should be good to go. This app does also work with VC Face as well, so if you're connecting in that way, you'll probably do something here. I don't know how that works though. I'm just a little 2D guy. I would also recommend linking up your Twitch account now too. Just go to settings, select Twitch, connect, and then it'll pop up a Twitch window in your browser, and all you have to do is hit authorize, and you should be good to go after that point. Next, we'll be working with our overlay. This is done using Spout2, so you will need the OBS plugin to capture all of this stuff if you don't already have it, and I'll leave a link down below if you need to pick that up. If you're on Linux, by the way, you can still use this app. You're just gonna have to use NDI or game capture to actually capture the output. Now, you will have the option to send your VTuber spout into VConnect and then send both the VConnect overlay and your VTuber back into OBS, or you can just send them both individually to OBS, and that's what I do personally because that's what I'm used to with T.I.T.S. But I will connect my model so that I can just see what I'm doing inside of the app while we're working on things. To do that, make sure your Spout2 is turned on in your Vtuber host app. And again, in my case, this is VTube Studio, and it'll be right here in the settings menu, and all you have to do is turn it on. Then you'll need to toggle on Spout2 inside of VConnect as well. If you want to view and adjust your model inside of VConnect, which I recommend doing, you'll also have to turn on the receiver and set it to your receiver name. It should be set to VTube Studio default name, so my model should automatically show up. Inside of OBS, you can add a new spout source and grab the VConnect capture as well. The overlay will be hidden, but if you're using a window capture, like if you're on Linux, you can press F3 to hide it. There's also the option to split the capture into thirds. That is, in front of your model, and then behind your model. And this is a really great option to have for complex setups, but it does increase the load on your device. And in my case, it's not really that useful. If you're combining sources inside of VConnect or have a cropped capture where you have to adjust your overlay settings, you can head to the overlay editor and edit your scenes or add a new one. You can then adjust the position and scale of the outline in your model targeting. If you're using a full resolution model capture inside of OBS and a full resolution VConnect capture, then you shouldn't have to worry about this much though. It really only comes into play if you're using a cropped source or something like that. If you want, you can adjust your outline, although VTube Studios is usually pretty accurate using the outline option. There are outlines for spheres, squares, humanoid models, and then of course the VTube Studio outline. But the square and circle options are great if your model isn't humanoid, and the humanoid option is great if the regular outline is just not working for you. For all of these, you can manually adjust the scaling and sizing if it doesn't align to your model perfectly. Next, you'll want to set your targets. Double check that the default targets match the label, and if they don't, hit the edit button and then adjust them as needed. Let's get to throwing stuff though. But first, we have to mess around with the asset manager. In the asset manager, you can double click on the default assets to view them, and the app comes with a ton. But if you want to add any new ones, just right click and import. You can add in images, 3D models, entire VRM avatars, videos, and audio. And if you're preparing assets for sale on something like VGen, you can also collect them and export them into a VAsset bundle, which is then of course easy to import as well. You can also choose to import your Twitch emotes from your account, including your 7TV, BTTV, and FrankerFaceZ emotes as well. If you do this, they're going to automatically be stored in a folder for you. If you want to make a new folder, you can do that up here and click and drag any items you want inside of it. You can hold Shift to select multiple items at once, or hold Control to select multiple non-consecutive items. Next up, let's head to the Node Manager. It's empty because we haven't made anything yet. So let's make a new blueprint. You can start with an empty slate, import triggers, or use the setup wizard. We're going to be using the wizard to start since this is a very complex system and it's probably going to scare you when you open things up. First up, we're going to have our trigger, and that's going to be the start of the chain of actions. I'm just going to set this to a hotkey for the time being since it's pretty easy to understand, and I'm going to go ahead and bind this to a key. Then we can pick whatever action we want from here. So let's go ahead and try out the new fluid shooting option. You have some options like adjusting the viscosity and motion, as well as the target area. And you do have the option to choose a sound as well, but I'm just going to leave this blank. Hit next, and then adjust your delay and cooldown times as needed. When finished, hit the done button and you'll see your new blueprint ready to go. You can now press the hotkey and it should trigger the series of nodes. And you can adjust any of these nodes individually. While you're in the node editor, you can zoom in with the scroll wheel and right click and drag to move around. If you want to adjust the position of any of these nodes, you can left click and drag them, but only where the name is located. And of course, if you want to swap the initial trigger to something else, like for example a channel redeem, you'll just select the original node, press delete to remove it, and then we can right click once and select add to get our list of potential nodes. And yeah, there's a lot of them, but they're all grouped so it's not too hard to find what you're looking for. And you can always type in the top to search as well. We can set the new node to a Twitch channel redeem, set the channel redeem to a redeem we already have set up, and then we can go ahead and test it out in our chat. And look at that, it works. The whole point of a node system is that it's completely customizable, so you can add even more nodes in, for example. Like, I have a blood splatter toggle, so I thought it would be fun to add after the fluid hits me. All you have to do is right-click, add a new node, and then you're going to go ahead and adjust the connections between the nodes. And after that, it'll be added into the list of nodes. Nodes can obviously branch as well and make some really complicated stuff, which we'll get into here in a moment, because there are tons of other options available from the templates alone. And of course, if you're worried about making your own nodes, I would just recommend starting with these. The most classic template that we're all going to be looking for, especially if we're moving over from T.I.T.S, is the object throwing template. If we bring up the object throwing template, you can see that it actually needs to spawn the item, throw it, send collision data to our models, and play audio. So there's tons of little branches going on here. So it's not the most intuitive thing to set up off the rip, but studying all of these is going to be very helpful for you to make your own node templates. Thankfully, if you're wanting to continue your throwing system functionality though, this works pretty much exactly the same that it does inside of T.I.T.S, so you should be able to convert them over pretty easily. You can zoom into each of these individual nodes and adjust the size, sounds, objects, and more. And Rema has stated that we will be getting an option to export T.I.T.S settings and then re-import them into VConnect. That way, if you do plan on moving over to VConnect entirely, the move won't be too bad. The setup wizard also has options for rain, which will dump objects over your model, stickers, which will stamp an item on your screen, changing your VTuber model's artmesh colors, and even triggering text-to-speech, including options for lip sync as well in the case that you have something like a little VTuber buddy on your model. There is also an example for basic utility as well, like creating shoutouts on Twitch. VConnect has insane potential for complex setups because there's also integration for apps like Pulsoid, a heart rate tracking app, and VTS Pog, which is a more robust T.I.T.S plugin for VTube Studio. There's even integration for OBS, meaning you can trigger events like item tosses using triggers like OBS filter or scene changes, and vice versa. And of course, the node system allows for tons of creativity. For example, here's a little poison setup that I made while messing around, which toggles on some pixelation VFX, plays a sound, and shakes my model a little bit to the left and right, like how poison damage in Pokemon does. There are some other notable VTS features, like for example the DVD bouncing option, and also the ability to punch your model in the face. Overall, it's just really cool. VConnect is available for about $30 USD, which in my opinion is a fair increase from the price point that Throwing System was. We'll definitely be seeing loads of updates for this app, and it's got far more functionality than Throwing System had, not to mention that the developer does also have to pay a portion of this out to Steam as well. So I personally think the price is justified. And if you don't, you can always add it to your wishlist and hope that a friend gets it for you, because it is available on Steam. Let me know down in the comments if you guys plan to pick up VConnect, or if you already have T.I.T.S and plan to make the swap over. I definitely am going to be moving my personal setup all the way over to VConnect, and maybe I'll do more videos on this in the future. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.